Welcome to another movie plot. And spoilers ahead. The semi-famous Jimmy Buffett wannabe Coconut Pete started his dream resort called Pleasure Island just off the mainland of Costa Rica. Specifically designed to be a no-strings-attached party town, the staff are hired for their good looks and lack any real knowledge of how to operate the place. The main employees consist of aerobics instructor Jenny, who hosts her own TV show after the previous host mysteriously passed away. The Nicaraguan dive master Juan Castillo, who doesn't specifically say what he even dives from. British tennis instructor and plastic bag adorned Putman Livingston. Coconut Pete's spoilt nephew and DJ for the island Dave Conable. And the fun police Sam, who acts like security but the only gun he carries is used for shooting tequila into guests' mouths. The only person giving a shred of legitimacy to the island is Pete's personal security Hank, having once headed an FBI task force but is now just a drunk guarding his best friend. Two of the resort's members of staff are going into the jungle to fool around, when Stacy notices someone watching them from the trees. She suggests they move, so they take the party to a nearby burial site, where Rolo begins to destroy headstones like a right twat. Kelly shows up looking to get in on the action and they go inside a nearby tomb to continue. While the three further desecrate the sacred ground, Kelly notices one of the wall-adorned masks steps forward and strikes down Rolo with a machete. The girls run into the jungle and, as you'd expect, split up the first chance they get. Kelly reaches a cliff on the island and grabs the killer's machete to not fall, but she slips off it and over the edge, dying. Stacy manages to make it back to the pool and sees guests, but the slasher catches up and instantly decapitates her. An hour earlier, a new staff member Lars Bronkhorst is arriving at the island, having been hired as a masseur. He is directed past all of the staff members and suspects involved in the future murders, while Kelly and Stacy are shown to be working as servers on the beach. Lars soon realizes that most of the staff have resentment for the initial victims, as they all give looks as if they want to kill them each for their own unique reasons. At the main stage, Coconut Pete comes out and does his monologue to the new guests, introducing each of the staff members to the crowd while he sings his Pleasure Island song. He tells them that their cell phones don't work on the island and the last boat just left them for the mainland. Sam shows up for a scripted bit, directing the overly excited crowd further up the beach for some free drinks. New guest Penelope gets lost on the island but runs into Jenny, and after introducing herself as a gnome from Alaska, she is helped back to civilization. With an hour having passed, best friends Roy and Manny boast about what they would do to the women around them if they weren't so obviously gay for each other, when Stacy is shown to be knocked off directly behind them. After getting settled, Lars meets Jenny and the two instantly hit it off, where he shows her and you his reason for being the replacement for a 6-foot Swedish girl. Dave is said to be able to get away with murder but claims at least assault with a deadly wet one, when Sam and Juan show up and take Jenny away to be used as a limbo bar. Later that night, Lars is put on luge duty by Coconut Pete, and made to wear the sticky pleasure sweater by Hank. Coconut Pete uses his fellow staff to trick women into thinking he remembers them from past concerts, luring them into bed. The smallest guest on the island, Dirk, has the largest appetite, and interrupts Putman while he is trying to put the moves on Jenny. Sam connects Penelope and Juan together for the night and they end up hitting it off, while Penelope is on spring break from Oral Roberts but Juan claims to have only heard of an anal Johnson. After the party, kitchen staff Carlos sees an ominous message on the notice board in reference to the 3 deaths, before he attempts to clean up some fallen garbage bins but gets slashed just like the others. On the beach, Lars is told by Jenny sure he enjoys the island right now, but that won't last long, while Lars gets to spend the night playing his favorite songs with his idol Pete. When one girl suggests they play Margaritaville, Pete loses it, claiming to have written the song 7 years ago and called it Pina Colada Berg, before he had it stolen by Buffett. After he is taken away by Hank in a swarm of anger, Dave tells the story of Machete Phil, who after being caught on the island shagging a corpse cut his junk off with a machete and ran off into the woods, still being heard screaming till this day. The next day, the guests are playing a game of real-life Pac-Man in a hedge maze, with women acting as the ghosts and staff dressed in fruit for the bonus points. Dave is in need of some more fruit for the game as pretzel and watermelon are indisposed of, so he puts in pear. It isn't long before the pear comes face to face with Pineapple, who cuts him off in the maze and kills him with a machete. Banana Putman soon finds Pear's body and shows it to the rest of the staff, while Jenny comes across Lars meditating by the beach and they begin to talk some more. Lars shows that he can make someone pass out or even pee their pants just with a touch, but they suddenly are interrupted by Carlos's body crashing through the side of a shed, having been sent by the killer who wants himself to now be known. Leaving a message on the notice board suggesting that he is targeting only the staff, the killer has stolen the boats and cut all phone and radio lines on the island. Pete insists that the story of Machete Phil is all made up just to scare the guests, but they all begin freaking out, as the mounting death toll suggests otherwise, while Dave gets terrified at the mention that the island also has jungle rats. Hank, having once single-handedly caught the Minneapolis Mangler, provides assistance and convinces the staff to continue with their jobs, leaving the killer to him to deal with. They decide to put a piñata out for the guests in hope of finding a left-handed slasher. While Lars and Jenny search the public's cabins, but they come up clean-ish. Yu remains intent on telling the guests despite the warnings not to do so from the killer, and begins to gather everyone until she is attacked. Managing to make it to the beach and find Hank, the killer just slashes the 20 beers a dayer's throat in one swift move and continues to chase you. She makes it into one of the island's vehicles, but they go no faster than a brisk stroll and the killer catches up. The next day during crab aerobics, Lars brings up that the lines on the board are all from Pete's songs, so since the songwriter can't remember a single thing from the entire decade, they re-listen through the album in hopes of finding a clue. Juan alerts the group that Hank and Yu have been found dead on the beach, displayed with a threat telling them not to attempt to tell the guest as you did. The staff play it cool in front of the guests, but begin to suspect each other since the killer is so familiar with all of them. Lars and Putman come up with a plan to search for a boat along the shoreline, where Lars gets a kiss from Jenny before leaving. Penelope begins to act aggressively with Juan after having only spent one night together. Then while he and Jenny are talking potential suspects, she shows up out of nowhere and begins to perpetuate their suspicions of her, so Juan does the only smart thing and attempts to eliminate her as a suspect. While the staff wait in Penelope's closet ready to attack, he probes her for information, but she just reveals herself to be nothing more than a gymnast. Having spent her whole life in a gym, she just isn't good at social interactions. With her crossed off the group in Juan's list, Sam and Dave go into Lars's cabin and find a creepy shrine filled with photos of Pete. On the other side of the island, Putman is woken by the killer approaching and runs into the jungle. He is quickly caught and the mask gets removed to reveal himself. Having just had a nightmare about kissing himself, he is woken by Lars to calm down, so the confused man flees into the jungle in self-loving terror. The next morning Lars returns to the group after finding a boat, but the propeller is busted. Since he is alone and none of them died during the night, they suspect that he is the killer and hold him in a storage room. Jenny goes to the pool and feels safe swimming since there are guests around, but they all leave the moment she jumps in. After a brief scare by Dirk, the killer shows up and uses a TV to electrocute the kid while Jenny flees into the jungle. She runs into Putman having just returned and Sam attempting to get the power back on. Realizing Lars can't be the killer, they return to the room to free him, but he has somehow slipped through a window half his size. The three continue to search around for him while Jenny argues for Lars's innocence, until they are joined by Juan and Dave and all begin to hurl accusations around once again, when Pete suddenly crashes the party having been killed off screen. Lars returns and begins to cry at the sight of his dead hero, before Sam mocks his acting and they all start fighting again. Jenny convinces the group that they must work together to survive. They go with this plan for about 2 seconds until they all split up, Juan going to find Penelope, Dave hopped up on whatever he takes, Sam still not trusting Lars, and Putman being jealous of the new couple, leaving them in darkness. Dave secretly has a backup generator set up just to play his records, but when Jenny and Lars are drawn by the music they find Dave's severed head. They return to Jenny's room but hide under the bed from an approaching stranger who enters. Jenny cuffs him to the bed frame, but it turns out to just be Putman, having snuck in to nick some of her panties during the commotion. The slasher shows up, and not having any key to the cuffs or a lock to the door, the out-of-luck tennis instructor has no choice but to smack some balls at him until inevitably being impaled. Jenny and Lars hide behind the shower curtain, but the killer just cleans himself up then leaves. The two go to the nightclub where the guests are all partying in the darkness. Attempting to warn them, the killer does it instead, unveiling all of the dead staff members strung up around them and causing a stampede of scared imbeciles. They find Penelope just as Juan is returning from finding Putman's body, when they see Sam being attacked in the spa. They search it to find the room empty with 3 full mud baths. After checking 2 and only finding Sam's apparently lifeless body, Lars stabs into the 3rd, feeling it empty and realizing that Sam was in there all alone. The real slasher grabs Lars. He reveals that he wanted to kill everyone because Pete decided to give the island to his idiot nephew Dave and go back on tour. Having given his life to the park and feeling betrayed, Sam figured that Dave would just mismanage the resort and destroy it. He says that his stupid games got them to do their work better than ever, before Lars grabs him in a pleasure grip. He gives the others time to escape, where they flee back to the party as it's the most secure building on the island, but Penelope is lost among the party-crazed guests. Sam returns, so Jenny and Juan lock themselves in the nightclub, but suddenly see Sam drowning Penelope in the fish tank. Not able to run around to her in time, Juan grabs an axe and smashes the tank, saving Penelope and letting Sam inside. He prepares to kill them, but a machete bursts from his chest, being wielded by a not dead yet Lars. They escape the club to see the guest have gone full Lord of the Flies, while Roy and Manny are now the pretzel and watermelon. Sam classically returns and chases the remaining four as they escape into the jungle. The sun rises as they reach the edge of the island and are told by the dive master to clench their cheeks or else paralyze your intestines. Then Penelope kisses him before making the leap. When the rest drop down, Lars spots on the ocean floor one of the sunken resort boats. With the intention of taking its propeller and using it on the other damaged boat, Juan swims down to retrieve it, but Sam descends in behind him. Lars, Jenny and Penelope wait in anticipation to see who exits the water when Juan pops up, having gotten away with the part they need but not his life. Juan was slashed by Sam in their fight and sinks to the ocean floor. Then Sam springs out and attacks them. Lars smacks him in the head and they begin to fight, until Sam is kicked off the boat onto the pontoon. Jenny drives it away but is still tied to the dock, and with Sam tangled in the line they do laps of the pontoon until Sam is eventually crushed. Returning to untie the line, Sam comes back for another fake out and attacks, so they accelerate again until finally bisecting the determined slasher. During their celebration, top half Sam returns yet again and leaps on Penelope, so Lars picks him up and hammer throws the torso back into the water, and Sam finally sinks for good. The three survivors leave the island with Penelope already looking like she is over Juan's death. And the movie ends, despite Lower Sam still in hot pursuit.
Hey, look, I'm salty, eh?
Wait, what's your name?
Listen, mommy, I call you later, alright?
No.
Follow the banana, follow the banana, follow the banana.
So you made it. I appreciate your time. I couldn't have done it without you. Tell your mother I said thanks.
Ponytail will get you tail. Just keep it out of my Mai Tai.